The Chicago Bulls have looked like an actually respectable basketball team for the first time since the Jimmy Butler trade, which thank God, because I was starting to lose my mind. They are one game out of the 8th seed at the current moment, and that is despite this team having multiple injuries. Wendell Carter has missed a lot of games, Lauri Markkanen has missed a good amount of games, and there's been players like Otto Porter out of the lineup, Chandler Hutchinson out of the lineup, Thomas Satoransky, and they are still outside of the playoffs barely, and I would wager that if they had the health, they would confidently be in the playoffs right now. There is a handful of reasons why this team is better. One of the bigger ones is the obvious, which is that Jim Boylen has been replaced by Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan is by no means some great coach, but he is competent, and that's a pretty big upgrade from the worst coach in the history of NBA basketball. Do not argue with me over this. On top of that, Lauri Markkanen has had a resurgence. He is currently shooting 40% from 3, averaging around 18-19 points per game, and he's just been a lot better than he was last year. Thaddeus Young has been amazing for the Bulls this year. He has been out there looking like the Bulls' best playmaker at times. He's averaged like 5 assists per game in the month of February. He's playing great on both ends of the court. Never seen that dude miss a hook shot, and they play him at small ball center a lot, and he's really good at it. But really, just in general, and this can be a overall thing as well as just a Billy Donovan thing, this team seems a lot more uniform and a lot more consistent. They are playing as a team far more than they ever did before. However, the biggest reason by far for the Bulls being successful this year has to be Zach Lavine, who is having by far and away the best season of his career. So I want to talk about Zach Lavine, how he is proving people, including myself, wrong, as well as what that means for Chicago's future. Real quick before this video starts, about half of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed, so if you fall into that 50%, then subscribe. It helps you see these videos when they come out, and it helps fuel my ego. Also, drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second, and it makes a massive difference. Also, real quick, new podcast episode out. I talked about how I was a wannabe crocodile hunter when I was a kid and just a bunch of stupid shit that me, Mojo, and Rudy did. I really like doing that podcast, and I wish they'd do better. So if you want to see more of this stupid face, go watch it. So let's really dive into just how good Zach Lavine has been this year. Zach is currently averaging 28.9 points on 64.7% true shooting, as well as a career high in assists and rebounds, career high in field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage. He's also just 3.8% away from the free throw line from 50, 40, 90. He's also shooting 42% from 3 on over 8 attempts per game, making him one of the best shooters in the NBA, and certainly one of the best pull-up 3-point shooters, as most of his threes are coming unassisted as well. Now, to put those scoring numbers into perspective, I have a pretty wild comparison, but it's actually not really wild just from an individual point of view, and I want to make this clear. I'm not saying that Zach is on this player's level. I'm just trying to use it to contextualize Zach's scoring and efficiency. Steph Curry's 2016 point and efficiency averages were 30 points per game on 66.9% true shooting. So Zach is currently averaging just 1.2 less points on 2.2% worse true shooting percentage than 2016 Steph. 2016 Steph is significantly better than Zach Lavine, but Zach is putting up those kind of scoring numbers right now. On top of the scoring though, what's been really almost arguably as impactful is that Zach Lavine's all-around game has been better as well. One of the biggest issues that existed with Zach Lavine previous to this season was tunnel vision. Even though he had a very clear natural talent for scoring the ball, particularly with the ball in his hands, because he was bad at making basic reads on passes, it was questionable whether or not he really wanted the ball in his hands all that much, because even though he could score, it wasn't necessarily good for the team's offense. But that's not a problem anymore, because Zach Lavine's vision has been considerably better. He doesn't really have tunnel vision anymore, maybe spots here or there, but just in general, Zach with the ball in his hand is far more impactful than literally anything else the Bulls could be doing. He has also improved pretty drastically on defense, mostly because of effort. The biggest thing that I can point to for this is that Zach in particular seeked out a challenge percentage in the Bulls versus Pistons game from like a week ago, where Jeremy Grant completely went off in the first half. I believe he had like 25 in the first half, and though Jeremy continued to score a lot in the second half, Zach took up the challenge of guarding Jeremy, and though Jeremy did still score, if you watch that game, you realize that it was a lot more difficult for Jeremy for that second half than it was the first. He was just making some absurd shots. Go watch the highlights from that game. Jeremy Grant was just hitting everything, but Zach played good defense. It was just better offense. But more so than even that individual matchup, it was the fact that Zach Lavine asked Billy Donovan if he could guard Jeremy Grant. That's never something I would have expected out of Zach from last year. He has also been willing his team to wins, like that Pistons game I mentioned earlier. The Bulls made a 25-point comeback in order to win that one, where Zach Lavine had 37 points on 65% shooting. And in the 20-point comeback they had against the Blazers earlier on in this season, while Zach had a poor shooting night, he did drop 9 dimes as his vision has improved, and he hit the three-pointer that was really the nail in the coffin for that game. And probably most important of all of this stuff with Zach Lavine's offensive numbers is that it has translated to the Bulls' overall offense as well. The biggest argument you could make against Zach was that his scoring wasn't really all that helpful for the Bulls' offense individually, just because everything he was doing didn't really help his teammates. His gravity didn't really exist, partially because the teammates were poor, but also because people knew he had that tunnel vision. And as a result of that, the Bulls were 27th in offense last season. This year, they have moved all the way up to 16th, and early on in this season, when there were not so many injuries, specifically Lauri Markkanen being in there, the Bulls were top 5 in offensive rating. It's been a bit more of a carry job lately, but even then, that carry job going from 27th to 16th is a pretty significant jump. So let's talk about how he is proving people wrong. A lot of people have had the narrative that Zach Lavine is just simply not a winning player. If you've watched the Bulls this year, you know that's not true. Now, the Bulls being just outside of the 8th seed is nothing that impressive, but when you consider the fact that Thaddeus Young, who's like 34, has been the Bulls' second best player all season, and the Bulls bench has been better than the starters, Kobe White has had a bad year, Otto Porter has been out, Wendell has been out, Lauri Markkanen has been out. If you really put all that into context, Zach Lavine has been doing amazing with what he has. And at this point, to say that he's not a winner, or at the very least someone that can carry a not great team to a decent record, would be ignorant. Because of those reasons, people have been saying he's not worth a max contract. At this point, I would absolutely give Zach Lavine a max contract. To put in comparison how disrespected Zach Lavine was getting, he was ranked, I believe it was 55th in ESPN's top 100 list from like a year ago, or maybe even last offseason, and he was ranked below Lonzo Ball, which is incredibly disrespectful. But the thing is, it's not just ESPN or general NBA fans like underrating him. Even I didn't think Zach Lavine could ever be this good. I ranked Zach, I believe, at like 41, maybe like highest was like 38 in my top 50. I probably could have checked before this, but I didn't. It was somewhere between 35 and 45. And even then I got some pushback from people saying it was too high. Looking at you, not Zay. I was like not ranking him as highly as I probably could have. So really, even I did not believe that Zach Lavine had what he's doing right now in him. I did not think he could be the main option on even a decent team. I thought he could be a great contributor on a good to even great team, but number one on a team that's in the playoffs, not really. Not necessarily number one scorer, because I do believe Zach Lavine is good enough to be the number one scorer on a borderline championship team, but not the number one best player. It's a separation between the two, just because Zach's scoring is amazing, but his all-around game had been weak up to that point. I would still say Zach Lavine's overall game is not amazing, but his scoring has got elevated to the point where the just okay all-around game is more than enough. So now what should the Bulls do with this new information? How should they proceed? Well, I am of the opinion now that with Zach Lavine breaking out to the point that he is, the fact that he's only 25 years old, that this team should build around Zach Lavine. Now, I still do not believe that a team built around Zach Lavine can win a championship with him as the number one guy. However, I do believe a very solid, like consistently 5 to 6 seed playoff team can be. And I want that because I'm fucking tired of losing, first of all. But second of all, because the Chicago Bulls are one of the biggest franchises in the league, one of the biggest markets, and they now have a new front office that does not deter free agents, a coach that does not deter free agents, I really want to see this team try and do stuff that's not through the draft to build the team. I'm tired of all these young talent guys waiting to see what they're going to become. Call me impatient. First of all, I am impatient. Ask Rudy, who's editing this right now. But I'm also perfectly fine being a little bit impatient because I believe you can build a good team around Zach Lavine. The Bulls this year have been so much better with basically Zach Lavine plus the bench players, Garrett Temple, Thaddeus Young, Thomas Satoransky, and then Wendell at center, or even running small and putting Thad Young at center. The Bulls have been a lot better with their vets plus Zach, like to the point where I'm tired of dealing with Kobe White, Lauri Markkanen, even to an extent Wendell. Patrick Williams I would of course hold on to because I think he has a whole lot of upside, but other than Patrick and Wendell, I'd be perfectly satisfied getting rid of both Lauri Markkanen and Kobe White, going in a win-now direction, trading for Lonzo Ball if that's possible, but it's seeming less and less likely as he continues to be great, which is sad because I want him to be great, but also stop being so great so we can trade for you. And because of the fact that the Bulls have such a big market and they no longer have a horrible reputation because of a horrible front office, I think you could attract a good free agent to pair with Zach Lavine, or because you have Wendell, you have Kobe, you have Lauri, you have all of your first-round picks for the future, I think you could trade for even a borderline superstar talent. Karl Anthony Towns comes to mind. I think you could trade, let's say, Wendell, Lauri, Kobe, and basically like 4 first-round picks for Cat, and I'm perfectly fine with that. The Bulls also have a lot of salary cap this year, so I think, you commit to Zach Lavine, really build that solid team around him, and then who knows what happens from there as a large market with a good team, a good reputation, and a good player on the books. Anyways, I wanted to get that off my chest. I've been thinking about the Bulls a lot. If you're over on my second channel, you've heard me kind of express these thoughts already, but I wanted to bring it over to the main channel for the 5% of people that actually give a shit about Bulls basketball. All I know is I'm really happy right now because I never believed Zach Lavine could be this good, and this was with him being my favorite player in the league. So for him to take this leap has been awesome for me to see, and for him to prove so many people wrong after I've been telling them that they're wrong for so long, it's very fucking satisfying. But yeah, check out that pod if you have not already. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video, and that is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.